I did not enjoy OD Meteor Hammer as much because the joy in OD is just twacking away with your auto attack and dropping your ult, right?
Right.
And that's not the playstyle anymore. It's just Astral Imprison, Meteor Hammer, get the Ags for 2 charges, get the Ag Shard to be really annoying, and haha, just run down. So I'm hoping this is the last day we'll see it, Mike, but you never know.
Well, hold on, John. If they nerf the OD Meteor Hammer synergy, right? The whole thing with OD and Meteor Hammer, what do they nerf? Did they nerf Meteor Hammer, which is a pretty garbage item unless OD's using it? Or did they nerf OD somehow to make that combo useless? And how do they do that?
Maybe a toolkit rework. They've done it a couple of times with this Essence Flux already, so I could see that. Just change the mechanics with his Astral Imprisonment, change the Orb again, and change Sanity's Eclipse again for it. I don't know, but something's got to give. Love the response from Polaris, though. Into the Phantom Lancer they go. Not much great wave clear left on T1. Treant's not amazing against him. OD. You could argue the Sanity's Eclipse can do something, but it can be hit or miss up against a PL. There is a window to kind of dodge you. Your timings are pretty good. There is a slight cast point to that spell. And PL doesn't like building BKB, so that could be an issue down the line. I don't think it's too bad in this game, just to protect yourself from that OD. And you've got natural mana burn anyway. You can just immediately go into the Manta Diffusal, run down the OD, then he's not going to be able to cast his big spells. It's fine.
Fair. I mean, PL not the greatest of carries right now, not very in meta, but I know a lot of carries enjoy playing this hero, so we'll see what Natsumi can get done on it. You know, I'm sure he's looking very forward to playing the PL once again. Gonna be a little bit annoying, of course, to play against that PL for T1, but if they have this very early orientated kind of lineup again, it may not really be a real big issue. I mean, OD with Meteor Hammer makes it really nice, because then you've got a hero that actually pushes down towers all of a sudden. Hell, even the Treant Protector goes for his own Meteor Hammer at some point, and then you've got double Meteor Hammer going. Still, we'll see what T1 try to finish off with. Whether they're going to give OD this Carl this OD in the mid lane, or whether they're going to throw it over to Cuckoo in the off lane. Either way works.
I think you'd prefer it on the off. It doesn't feel like the mid matchup for OD against Lesh is particularly good. I mean, you are annoying with the Aura, but Lesh will just be able to stand back and play with Lightning Storm. So he's not really under threat. You maybe make it a bit harder to play with a Split Earth in the matchup, but you still manage to farm in Lesh. And I think that's the risk you take as the OD. Of course, if you do farm decently as well in the OD, you hit your Meteor Hammer timing, the Lesh rack is easier to control than the PL. So that could be what they go for. I think it's just down to what do you really want to slow down. And I think you get a lot more from slowing down the PL in the early game. So the OD does some good work in the laning phase there. It's not like you're dealing with the Diffusal yet in PL. It's not like Doppelganger is a very low cooldown in the laning phase. So you don't have too much to worry about on the OD. And you can just kind of play more aggressive from that lane. Well, we'll see though. Again, the mid matchup's already kind of showing. The only thing left for Polaris is probably our support pick here for Xavius. And looking at that, there's not many options left for Xavius. They do go with the Legion Commander for Cuckoo, so it is going to be the Carl mid OD. Again, once Meteor Hammer's up, you can control the Lesh better. Laning phase, a bit more back and forth. I'd say maybe a bit better for the Lesh rack to play with Lightning Storm from a mile away compared to OD has to walk up for the Imprisonment. So I don't think you're going to have too tough of a time here for Lelouch, especially since that's his comfort hero.
Polaris. Final pickup here for themselves. Still 1 minute 20 seconds reserve time left to think about this one. Very curious as to what they do this draft. I mean, I feel like T1 this time around does just indefinitely have the better draft, but it looks like Polaris Esports, they'll go for the Death Prophet finish up. Xavier's going to take the Mars for himself as that pos 4, so it looks like Force is going to be playing the position 3 Death Prophet. Interesting. I thought they'd switch it away the other way around, but I guess the pos 3 DP works as well. You've got some insane push now from Polaris Esports. What are you thinking, John? I mean, do you prefer the draft of the Dire? Do you like where T1's gone with their draft?
I think I like T1's draft a little bit more. They've got enough control that you're not really being held back by your IO Treant too much, as we saw Polaris struggle with in game 1. You do have the issue of playing against DP, which the silence will mess up Carl. At the same time, you've got Legion Commander. So even in these clump up fights, as long as your LC is not getting caught out in the silences, press the attack fixes that issue quite nicely, and the LC into PL lane works out really nice for Cuckoo. Just building up an overwhelming odds, melt him down, even down the line with the illusion spam and creep waves. Cuckoo's still going to have a lot of presence, and I think if T1 just plays the same pace as they did in game 1, it's still going to be hard for Polaris. Mind you, Polaris does have more aggression coming through, so they should be able to put up a bit more of a fight, but I think just the execution of T1 in the last game was just... It felt like it was on a different level, Mike.
Alright, fair enough. We'll get into a game number 2 here between T1 and Polaris. See if Polaris can do anything about this and draw out the series, or whether the T1's just going to kind of roll all over them again. We made the comment earlier that Polaris has just been looking so hot recently, but... Well, not in that game number 1, that's for sure, as we are going to have a quick disconnection out. From Would You Believe It, it's going to be Carl, of course.
What can you do?
Take too long. Shouldn't take too long. It'll be fine. He'll be fine. Hopefully.
Yep. I mean, something's up with the lines. I heard from someone that the underwater cables have cut in 2 locations for PLDT, and I know Carl made some Facebook comment about PL Dota, so that could be acting up. I mean, I had issues on my ISP as well, Mike. Like I was doing that ATDL I was casting. At some point, my internet just cut. I had to use my data. And it took 2 hours for my internet to come back. So that I wasn't very happy. And every time I'd message their little online helper thing, it would keep asking for account name. I'm like, I don't own the account. I just want to know why the internet's cut. And they never answer me. Like, I'm just not important enough to be recognized.
Well, John, if you're not the account owner, John, how could they possibly speak to you and tell you that there's a worldwide outage? Now, how could that possibly be? And how do they keep cutting the lines like this? I mean, who's cutting the sea lines? Is somebody going down with a pair of like knives or something and just starting to cut them? I don't understand. Who's cutting these lines?
Oh, that's a great smoke break from Carl with the obs ward, immediately spotting that movement out. Yep. I'm not sure who cuts the lines, Mike. Maybe it's fishermen, nets dragging across water. If it is, it looks like those lines are pretty flimsy. I don't know. You know what? When you raise that question, it just makes me angrier. So maybe it's time to move on.
Fair enough, John. The T1, they're having a look around right now for somebody, and actually Zephyr's going to run right into Xavius, but he's going to tether away. And I said T1 were looking, but Polaris, they're the ones who make their way over. There's going to be a level 1 5v5 team fight, as Mavis is being focused down right now by Cuckoo and Whitemon, but should be able to eventually just run his way out. Now, still trying to chase him down, but in the end, you don't really have any stuns available right now from T1, so there's no real lockdown available. There's Mavis. He was still trying for a little bit to contest the bounty runes, but eventually we'll give up on it. And it's going to be a 2-for-2 bounty rune trade anyway, so a pretty even start. And while we're here, we'll start with the top lane, John. You've got Natsumi and Mavis, of course, and they are going to be up against Cuckoo and Zephyr. I'd say this is a pretty annoying lane for Polaris here in this safe lane, as I have no idea what these guys are talking about now. Carl just came in and said happy feet for some reason, but nevertheless, John, talk to us about this off lane of T1.
It's got a lot of sustain, right? Like, you will still want to play with overwhelming odds up against a PL, but you'll get to press the attack, you'll be able to purge off the ignite, purge off the stun if it's not on the LC, and it's going to be hard to zone out Cuckoo overall. Like, you're just seeing him just work the lane. Mavis trying to get some good right clicks off. He does not have an Orb Venom, so he can't really chase anyone down. I think you're pretty happy with T1 this lane. You had the last pick, LC into PL. It's a lane matchup you understand well, and Natsumi's not going to have the easiest time. Mind you, as we mentioned before, Mavis has a hero he can put his body forward with, but he doesn't have any follow-through from his core this time, so it still ends up being a slightly slower lane for Polaris overall.
Of course, mid lane as well. Lelouch going to be there against Carl. I would ask you the question, John, but I'm sure laning against this OD is going to be very frustrating for Lelouch. You already see right now it's a 5-2 in terms of CS here in the favor of Carl. Do you think at some point Lelouch starts to take over this laning stage, or do you imagine Carl just is in an aggressive kind of advantageous position the whole time?
I think Carl's in a really good spot to trade. Lelouch still has better wave clear with a Lightning Storm overall, so he's not going to be held back too far behind. But you will have to watch yourself. As Carl gets the initial farm up, the Meteor Hammer becomes a much more distinct reality, and once that's up, it's not safe for Lelouch. So we'll see how long he can hold off. He should just focus on working the lane, getting the farm he can, and not really forcing the issue too much, because you give any openings to the OD, leads to a faster Meteor Hammer, and the lane's kind of dead.
Oh, white one bot lane gonna go down. Xavius just kept chasing him with the Mars, and Force even coming in with the Crypt Swarm to help out, and it was just barely enough to take down the tree and Protector. So a nice start on the offlane of Polaris Esports, as well, it does seem like while Gabby is farming, Polaris are able to do the same. So no real issues so far here for the dire end. Problem is, I suppose Gabby farming could be a bit of an issue, as you don't really have the greatest way of slowing him down, but now, as long as they get their own farm and maybe a kill here and there, they'll be fine.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job of making it a hard game for Whitemon. Like, they cut off the tree line, there's just no angles for the tree to take from the left side. And you've got the defense now from a static link. Of course, the spear just ensures that Gabby can't run you down. So it's a lot less aggressive for Gabby. It's not too bad though. Like, Razor still farms up really well. You just want the Falcon Blade up, and you kind of still get running from there.
Top lane. A lot of aggression here from Cuckoo and Zephyr. It's already hard enough to lane against LC with a double melee duo, but when you've got Zephyr there to just give that extra attack speed and that extra regen, it becomes that much more difficult. There's just nothing they can do at the moment. So every time Cuckoo gets close, he is going to get aggressive, and you just see that. Overwhelming odds is out. So much damage being dealt. Cuckoo, he won't dive all the way for Mavis, but he will leave him with 0 HP. And that's even better. You just let him walk all the way back to the fountain. Though it does seem like Mavis is going to go for the deny, perhaps, but no. Just going to hang around with very little HP.
A tithe to the impurities.
Zephyr's going to go for him. Mavis is actually just going to tank through it with all the regen he has. Eventually, he will realize he cannot man-fight this, and in fact, Cuckoo's going to join in. Mavis is going to run right into him, and that's going to be a free kill to go the way of Cuckoo.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate in terms of the ward placement here for T1. Their sentry's out of range of the opposite sentry. They will manage to chase down Natsumi, who does try to juke with the illusion, but it's not enough.
Cuckoo. Hey, Cuckoo just stuck to his guns there, John. He knew Natsumi was trying to juke him out with that illusion, and he just did not flinch. He just kept hitting away, and he was right.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things we talked about with PL. Up against the LC, you don't have much cooldown. You have a really long cooldown in Doppelganger in lane. It's very hard to just keep dodging out. There's so much sustain for Cuckoo and Zephyr when they press the attack on the eye with the tether. It's impossible to trade against this.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Mavis, he's going to find out the hard ways. He will die a second time. Third kill for Cuckoo on this LC. This could be a very, very good game for the offlane of T1, considering how great of a start Cuckoo's had.
Yeah, it's already off to a smooth start. Should lead to pretty fast timings, whether or not he wants to blink or blade mail, or even an armlet wouldn't be too bad in this game. It's all kind of open. You will need the soul ring first, instantly bought out, so he's got man sustain coming true now. And pretty much all the lanes for T1 are going great. All of their cores in the top 3 right now. Carl holding his mid quite well, keeping Lelouch very far back. In fact, Lelouch was forced to walk to TP all the way back and just walk back in now. And Carl is one part away from Meteor Hammer, Mike. So the lane's almost unplayable now for Lelouch. And that's not ideal for a Lesh. You want to be able to shove out, you want to be able to pressure the opposite mid-tier 1 with your Diabolic Edict. With Carl playing so well, I don't see that angle opening up, and they even have this early rotation out from Zephyr as well.
Oh, this could be very detrimental here for Lelouch, as they've got plenty of slow available, though Lelouch is going to try and turn and fight with that Pulse Nova, but the hammer's dropped. Carl is not playing around in this mid lane. He'll take a very easy kill onto that Leshrac, and he'll just keep going for the Meteor Hammer. Just 300 gold away now, as even Mavis is at least going to be able to get an Invis rune here for his team, but that's about all he could have done. And I'll tell you, John, I mean, you already pointed out how bad it's going to be to try and lane against Cuckoo after he's got this item. I think just overall, Carl's just going to have so much roaming potential with this Meteor Hammer. It's going to be very tough times for Polaris as a whole, as it seems like the only lane that went right for them thus far is really the off lane.
Isn't it magical, Papa?
Yeah, but that's an off-lane death profit. Like you're banking on this hero that you don't even have the value point in silence up for force, so you're not really able to stop Carl when he does show up. And it is a lot of sustain, it is a lot of durability and presence from that frontliner, but you have to tempo yourself around Exorcism, which is a fairly long cooldown, and it's not guaranteed you'll always take a fight by a tower. So it's tough to kind of maximize that DP in this position, considering how the lanes and how the farm is shaping up initially. You already see T1 working that top lane. They're just tethering up the siege creep, and they just melt that tower. No defense at all from Polaris, so Cuckoo with the freest lane of his life does have the duel ready. They don't quite have relocate up. Zephyr's still a ways off from that, but once that's up, just, you know, relocate duel and you're set to go.
Yeah, Whitemon, he was chased down for a little bit, but he's fine. Even without the brown boots, he just walks away. They actually can't hold on to him. This Pons 4 Mars, I mean, it can be very potent, but without the arena, you can't really hold anyone down. So Zephyr and Whitemon just perfectly safe for now, as even Mavis is going to rotate on that Ogre, but I mean, what do you get done here? Maybe just Bloodlust your allies, hope to push down this bottom tier 1 tower, but I think T1's going to have plenty of time to defend. Just way too much time to react here for T1. And even if they don't come bot, they're going to just go mid instead with the Meteor Hammer. There's your Exorcism out. Whitemon, he'll try to slow it down the best he can. Gabby's still around here, as they are going to TP one more down. T1 tower, though, is still dropping, but the glyph has been popped as Zephyr's going to make his way over, but Polaris, they're looking for a big opening. Not going to find it quite yet. There's more TPs to come in. Carl is here. He'll go for the Astral. Onto who, though? Oh, they are already dropping force. He was the one Astral up on that DP, but he's going to try and run another duel out. They got Zephyr on the Mars, or rather Xavius, and now they'll get Mavis on that Ogre. As the tier 1 tower does not drop, and even with that Exorcism going, T1 were just so confident they could force the fight, and they do.
It's that timing that they needed. You just come in, just get the duel off, find the punishment. They had a lot of good hold. There's a lot of sustain on T1, and you can't take prolonged fights against him. Lelouch does manage to dodge, but they've got to do something about that mid-tier one.
You say that, John Cuckoo? Gonna get the TP cancelled. Meteor Hammer not gonna be there, but that mid-tier 1 tower is still just slowly dropping. The TP of Mavis they cancelled, by the way. Just running back towards that mid lane to try and help with this defense, but there's just no helping at this point. In fact, top lane, somebody who needs help right now is Natsumi. He gets jeweled up here by Cuckoo, and Cuckoo found the exact right target once again, and here comes your relocate. They want more, and they'll go right after Mavis, who does get that D-ward, but it's going to cost him his own life, it seems. There is no way out of this with the body blocks from Zephyr, and Carl will secure the kill with the Astral.
Yep, securing it as you tend to do on the OD. He's still going Midas as well, Carl. He knows how far ahead he is, so he can afford to just go for a further snowball item, get some more EXP. They got a good grab onto someone here.
Yeah, it's going to be Xavius. That'll be Xavius gone as Carl. He'll just walk away. Fool guys do not look at explosions, and Carl, he'll even give the tip over to Xavius. I mean, Pons 4 Mars again, John. It's one of those heroes where it's a little bit greedier, very XP dependent, and well, for now, without that level 6 mark on Xavius, he cannot really do much.
No, but we've seen this multiple times with Polaris. We know how Xavius plays. He loves his greedy forest. Like, his Shaker is one of his signatures, and it's the same thing. It doesn't do much in lane. Kind of just want to farm up for your Blink. In this case, maybe a Eul's is more likely for Xavius. He could still try to rush the Blink. He does have Arena ready now, but they've got to find a good angle here.
And Carl's having such a great game, John. He's going for a Midas on this OD. I mean, why not? It just seems like he's got just too much gold right now. Natsumi sadly doing the exact same thing on the PL, just going for the Midas pizza. Still level 7 on the PL, Jonathan.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? Wasn't it Speed in NA who loves doing Midas PL? Right? Like, we have Pale Horse who absolutely loves the Octarine and Shard in Aetherlens, right? But Speed loved his Midas. So we'll see if this pays off for Natsumi. If I'm recalling right, when we watched Electronic Boys in that season, like, it didn't really work too well. And mind you, that was while Speed was ahead. This is Natsumi playing from behind. I can't fault the guy. PL, and he doesn't really enjoy the usual farming items like, say, Maelstrom, so Midas is your best go-to. Now the game's, again, a stall game out for Polaris. Almost reminiscent of Game 1, Mike. They've got to buy the space out, make this the Natsumi show somehow, and get the farm flowing into their one big core now.
They do. Problem is, they're just gonna have no way to fight. Until Natsumi at least has the diffusal blade up, but that's gonna be a while away now. He's still just trying to work on towards the treads. He just picked up the brown boots, by the way. Like, they're on the courier right now. It's just how bad of a game Polaris is having at the moment, as they are 5k behind. Still, relocate is going to be out down towards that bot lane. Who they found? Oh, it's going to be Natsumi. Another duel win here for Cuckoo as Natsumi gets caught another time on the PL, and Polaris is just not able to respond quick enough.
No, they TP multiple heroes down to try to help, but it's way too late. And that's time they could be using farming elsewhere. They don't even have a tower to push. They already took that earlier on. So T1 get everything. They waste some time. They find the big kill they need. They're getting the build-up they want on Carl and on Gabby, farming the opposite side of the map. And even with Duel on cooldown, they could opt to go again. Like, you've got OD with Meteor Hammer. There's really nothing stopping you from just getting that combo off. And Force has to be a bit cautious here.
And he does Force. Oh, he's going to be spotted. Whitemon going to move up and give the vision over to Carl, who can go for a very easy stun up with this Meteor Hammer. And that's going to be another kill, it seems like, to go the way of T1 as they wanted the duel. The silence was there from rather onto Cuckoo, so you won't be able to get the duel off. But who the hell cares? You get another kill. Xavius gets all the tips. And Jonathan, I know it's a little bit early, but we are still in the running for a second 3-2-2 this series.
That one is a bit more optimistic, Mike. 32-2 is not an easy scoreline.
It's a hard mode now, John. It's hard mode.
That is the hard mode 3-2-2. We'll see if T1 can find 21 more kills in this game, and if Polaris will likely find a second. I think that's a no-brainer. But can they stop at only 2? Can T1 stop them at only 2? That's a harder sell for me, Mike. I think Polaris still has a lot of room to grow. Granted, it's not looking good for them for now, so maybe that just sounds like complete baloney considering the state of the game, but it's Dota 2. You know, anything can happen. You're getting some space out for Natsumi. The Midas is being used well. He's working onto the Diffusal. That's still not going to be enough. Diffusal Mantis also not going to be enough. I think you'd likely need to ride all the way into Scotty or Heart before you feel really good on this PL. And that's way off the line. In fact, I wouldn't actually mind the diversion here, Mike, for the Shard and Octarine. Considering the state of the game, just play the stall game from a mile off.
Don't say that, John. Not that build. Anything but that build, John. That one kills me every time. Roshan already started here by T1, even with the draft that doesn't seem like they should be Roshing. Doing a fantastic job of it. Carl will take the Aegis once again, and it's going to be into a 4-man smoke here. Even Blade Mail up now on Cuckoo, and he is still top of the net worth board by a mile. Just a really great pick here from T1 in the drafting phase, and oh, they're going to find Lelouch. The target they love to just terrorize. Cuckoo, he'll jump in for the duel out. Do they have enough damage for the win? Yeah, you bet your ass they do. 40 duel damage already for Cuckoo as they are going to go into that mid-tier 2 tower at 15 minutes into the game.
Yep. Just, that's that same quick pace we saw from T1 in Game 1. They are trying to cut the creep wave, but Mavis is going to be punished.
Yep. Mavis gets caught out. There's no duel available, so Cuckoo, he won't be able to get that free damage, but it won't matter because Carl will just take the free kill. I suppose Mavis does kind of delay the tier 2 mid going down a little bit, but problem is you're going to have that Meteor Hammer off cooldown again from Carl, and I suppose the timing lines up very nicely for him.
They are very lucky that Cuckoo still didn't have duel up. He caught Natsumi solo again on bot lane, so would have been very dicey if you lost your PL just farming up. And the push from T1 down mid is being slowed down. You do have good wave clear coming through from Lelouch. Even Xavius and Forrest to an extent have that capability. So committing for these towers is a slower process. And T1's just going to have to bide their time. But they have a 7k lead 16 minutes in. 13-1. 3-2-2 Dream still running. Still a ways off, Mike. Don't want to oversell it yet, but we're inching towards there. Polaris are looking for a smoke play. They've got the Yules on the loose, so they can set up now. They've got some setup for Spears, setup for Split Earth. They can look for a pick-off, but they're fairly blind on Polaris' end. No forward vision. They've only got the laning ward down mid and a nice little ramp river ward on bot. And they can't really tell where T1's playing, so they can't even move out and find that pick-off. Just gonna have to use it to keep trying to farm. But T1, they're in a pretty good spot to smoke, and they have at least that one aggressive ward top, and they might be able to find a good angle for Cuckoo again.
Well, they did smoke underneath that observer ward though, John, so they were scouted out doing that. It doesn't necessarily mean Polaris is safe, because Natsumi is currently being chased down that bot lane, and Gabby might actually find him. Natsumi, oh, there's your smoke broken. Can they make it in time? Oh, they can. Oh, it hurts to watch, John. It really does. Natsumi could just not get away from Cuckoo at the moment.
No, he's got a Magnet right now, and even the Lush isn't safe here.
No, he certainly isn't. Astral into the Meteor Hammer will lock him down, though Carl is starting to drop low, but he does have the Aegis up. In the meantime, Marina has been dropped. There's the Aegis gone on Carl. That's a decent start. But can they keep going? No, it doesn't seem like it. Instead, onto Mavis. A nice easy Yoga kill. So at least you got the Aegis down. I mean, again, it's not the greatest, but it's something here for Polaris Esports.
Yeah, it's a mild win. They don't lose their Lesh, they only lose the Ogre Magi, really. So, kind of worthwhile. You're only losing your low net worth support, but this will open up that push. And oh god.
Natsumi. I mean, Cuckoo's just a magnet for Natsumi at the moment as Lelouch. He's not going to get dived into the tier 3 tower, but they are going to lose that tier 2 mid. Natsumi currently 0-5-0, Jonathan. I suppose it's not too surprising considering Polaris only have one kill at the moment, but it's a very depressing story here for our position 1.
Yeah, it's not a great game coming out. T1 had such a great read with the LT last pick, countering that PL quite nicely. They just had strong lanes, they've got the early activity, they've got this insane sustain we never really talked about. Like Tether, Living Armor, and Press the Attack. How do you kill someone with all of that overhealing coming out from an IO? Especially with that Holy Lock It Up, it just feels impossible. They are playing poke with Carl, but Xavius is out of mana and he doesn't have a TP, Mike.
Ooh, Carl? They've been a bit of a misclick there with the Meteor Hammer. Nevertheless, though, Cuckoo's all over it. Or is he? Has he seen Xavius yet? I don't believe he has. The night vision does not allow Cuckoo to see Xavius, so they barely get away. Xavius just kind of reading the room there, just running towards the right to ensure that he's within that fog.
Yeah, nice little juke. T1 not dissuaded though. It will go for a smoke play. DD not going to last for long, but they've got 80 damage up, and they should be able to hook up to this fight top.
If there is one. Force, he's going to back off as well. None of the team wanting to stick around right now to deal with T1. However, Cuckoo gonna finally lose with the blade mail up. He might just be able to get the job done himself. And he does. No problem here for Cuckoo, as he does pick up his 8th kill of the game, and Cuckoo is still yet to die in this game number 2.
I mean, you said it, Mike, they've only got 1 kill in Polaris, and who is the one poor sod who died? It was Whitemon. So I'm sure March will have some strong words for Whitemon if it stays at 1 kill. Considering that no one else on his team died, he's going to be the target of March's whip. When Polaris, they've got to try to find some more kills. You know, they need to find something. And again, I'm going back to it, Mike, but at this point, I think for Natsumi, the play is actually Ag Shard Octarine. He is going to go Manta before the Shard, but you need to stall. And the high ground stall build of PL is, unfortunately, Ag Shard Octarine. So we'll see if that's something Natsumi will opt for. And he's kind of stalled out. He does have the defusal. It doesn't do anything to help him survive these fights. He can't live long enough to even use that item to melt mana. So we'll see if Polaris starts to find some angles. They do have some better wards coming out. Again, they've still got that mid lane ward and forward aggressive ward by the ramp, but
Cuckoo's having the dream LC game right now, John. Already 100 jewel damage taken. I thought he might go for a jewel there, but he does not want to die right now. That's for sure. And Polaris Esports Still trying to back off as Carl is closing the distance here with Mavis.
Isn't it magical, Papa?
Gabby, they're going to find the Ogre, still blink in. There's a spear out from Xavier's, but it does nothing so far as the arena has been dropped by Cuckoo. He's on to Lelouch again. They're going to kill off the Leshrac straight off the bat as Force. He does try to abuse the BKB timing, but it does nothing.
Isn't it magical?
And Polaris Esports, they are yet to find their second kill of the game.
No, 19-1, Mike. It's inching closer. It's still a lot of kills T1 needs to find. Polaris, their high ground defense, it is there. I mean, you've got a Leshrac, you've got wave clear, so committing onto the high ground is pretty tough for T1. They have been taking their time in terms of piercing that objective, but they can get to work on these outer towers now. Tier 1, Tier 2 still stands bot. Roshan, we're going to see in about half a minute when that respawn is. And you've even got the blink up now on Whitemon, so you can jump in, get a good overgrowth, and even with the BKB on Force, it's not going to be enough. He's not actually going to be able to stand and fight, as there will be some hole to go through that. So T1 with all the answers, 15k lead, tower does melt. Polaris, and they're playing on the right side of the map. They're playing opposite, getting farm. I just honestly don't see any major item spikes to help them, at least from, say, Lelouch or Force at this point. Like, BKB already up in Force, BKB coming out from Lelouch will stall the fights a bit more, but there is some good physical damage coming through from a Razor and LC anyway. Like, it's not just the OD you're worried about there, and they still have duel to go through that BKB on top of that, so you don't really worry too much about the spell immunity on T1 side.
Oh, Lelouch, no. Not Lelouch another time. Oh, never mind. It's going to be Lelouch. That's his fifth death of the game on that Leshrac, and Cuckoo just continues to dish out so much damage. They're onto the tier 3s, 23 minutes in. T1 looking for an early night, it seems, as well, now even the refresher orb up on Gabby. So they spotted out Natsumi. He's going to try the juke one more time, but they're going to find out very, very quick which one the real one is. Natsumi, he'll run the other way around now, and he's going to be spotted. Doppel is there, but he just can't survive this. There's no way. Meanwhile, mid lane, Mavis. Be chased down here by Gabby. Even the refresh being committed here by Gabby. So just chase down Xavius, and they're just cleaning him up. I mean, this isn't even close.
No. Definitely not. And this is Polaris that did really well in Div 2. You know, they had an amazing run. And T1, well, they're a solid Div 1 team. Second place in regional finals. Lelouch again.
Jeez. I mean, what do you do, though? Cuckoo knows anyone he catches is just dead. He's got 160 dual damage in 24 minutes as Gabby, rightfully so, gives the tip over to Cuckoo. I think Cuckoo's just straight up carried them through this game. But Carl's found somebody else now. Force is forced to use his BKB. They'll be onto the top racks instead.
Just go for the safe place. No need to go for anything flashy here for T1. Polaris, their respawns are short, so Natsumi's back up. Not going to be long for Lelouch. They still need to really work hard to find an angle here. Arena is up with Blink, though.
Yeah, but BKBs are up, so Carl, he's going to be fine. And Gabby, he's happy to fight. He'll BKB up himself now as he does chase down the Mars. And well, Mavis, he just disappears. Xavius is gone as well, though Gabby is starting to fall quite a bit lower. He might drop, but no, the press the attack is there. And Zephyr, he's the one to go down, but no, Whitemon is out with the overgrowth, and they've got even more targets to go after. There's Force gone. Gabby has died, however, so he does drop, and they even found Whitemon. 322 Dream is dead, John. It is dead.
Yeah, T1 pushing the issue a bit too much, not respecting Polaris' turn. It did cost them a lot of buybacks, but it does pay off. A good net worth swing for Polaris to stay in the game. They've still got 2 racks standing, and they can try to build up further now. Like, Natsumi has the full Yasha flying out. Manta not too far off. The Ag Shard is up and running, so the Lance is bouncing. Is doing a lot more now up against T1, and we did mention it. For T1's lineup, their wave clear is not really there. It's mainly on Cuckoo. So it's almost all down to just the overwhelming odds, and Cuckoo's dueling on the right target. So we'll see how much more Polaris can get. T1 still in a very good position this game. Roshan is up. They've got control over the area. They could just opt to take a fast Roshan, and Cuckoo will check. And that should allow them to go high ground again. Roshan number 2 with a free shard. Cuckoo has been playing full core LC, no shard, so free shard for him is going to be massive, and just having another piece of spell immunity for the side of T1.
I mean, it's not like they've needed it yet, John. Keep in mind, Polaris only had 1 kill prior to that last team fight, so it's not like they required the shard up. Cuckoo. Carl will take care of the Aegis. Roshan. Cuckoo, yeah, he'll take the shards in the end. He almost looked like he didn't want it. It's a bit of a waste of space for him, but he'll take it for himself now.
Yeah, so spell immunity up and press the attack. Maybe it would have been funnier on Carl, but it feels unnecessary to have that little moonwalking astral orb save. It's just not really needed in this game. Polaris still having that high ground hold. They've got EXO up in 14, Arena's ready to go. With the blink Xavius has, it can be impactful and at least splitting off the fight, making it harder for, say, T1 Sports to hook up in a good position. And that's what they're banking on. I think they've just got to find a good angle for Xavius to jump in and just dish the damage out with Lucia and Natsumi.
They're going to try and defend Xavius. A nice spear back, but it doesn't land on Arax, and now the jump in is there with Jewel, and Lelouch is just gone. T1, they'll just keep going for more now as Force is trying to fight with the overgrowth. He's out of range right now, but it won't matter because they are still just chasing them down. Mavis is to go down as Natsumi will be the 3rd. They were close to getting Carl, but he had the Aegis anyway.
Oh god.
Oh.
Yep.
GG.
GG it is. 31-4 T1 with a very dominant display coming out, coordinating so well as a team. You pointed it out, Mike. It does feel like Cuckoo really enabled them to get those plays out. He had a great LC game. He had a great lane coming out. LC plus IO is just too much sustain for an Ogre and PL to eat through. And at the end of the day, that PL just had no lane. We saw how slow it took, how hard it was for Natsumi to build up into the defusal, and then he had to go Midas just to get the gold flowing. He was just completely shut out. And again, it just goes back to how Polaris were playing. They played with a much greedier pause 4 once more for Xavius up against T1, who's been playing fast, especially from the first game. They needed the change of play style, and we just didn't get that in the second game, and T1 just looks really strong coming out.
That they do, John. I mean, I thought this was going to be a very hype series between these two teams, but sadly, it's been a very dominant victory here for T1. And nevertheless, though, we do have a hype series coming up. OB Neon versus Team SMG. Coming up next, of course, we are going to head to a very short 15-minute break, though. And right after that break, we'll be back with game number 1's draft between SMG and OB Neon.